what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Chasing Dreams podcast with Charlie and Justin. We are on episode 96 as we creep closer and closer to 100. Justin, how has your morning been going so far?
Oh, it's fantastic. Got to spend a lot of time with the wife and kid, and that's out of the ordinary
Sure.
to spend time together for all three of us. So it was fun.
Isn't it crazy how quickly it goes to when you're spending time with family?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Which is
She's on call tonight, so I was looking at the clock and I was like, "Oh, it's about time for you to be, not available." So
Mhm. You got to make the most of that time when you can. I mean, I go through that, especially with like my parents, because I try to spend as much time with them as I can, but it's also very difficult considering they live a couple hours away from me. So any opportunity that I get to go see them is awesome. But you just have to, it sounds very, very corny, but you have to try to cherish every moment that you can with people, because with our busy schedules and with the way that life is, unfortunately, you never know when the next opportunity you'll have with them is.
Right. Exactly.
So let's dive right into it. I want to kind of ask you, I mean, normally we go through our updates and stuff. One of the updates that I wanted from you specifically is last Sunday, you did a stair climb in, remember it, was it Saturday or Sunday? Because I know you had
Sunday. Saturday we did our thing, and then Sunday we had the 9/11 stair climb event that my fire department and I has been holding for the last 2 years.
Perfect. So let's revisit that a little bit first, kind of give some background information, because I know we talked about it last episode, but some people may have not seen it. So go into a little bit of detail about what it is, and then let's talk about how it went, because I, for one, am genuinely curious about it.
Yes. So the idea is on 9/11, the average firefighter that went into the World Trade Centers climbed 110 stories, which I now know is 2,200 steps. In full in turnout gear with an air pack. A lot of them had hose on their shoulder or extra air bottles or tools, and a lot of them went up and down numerous trips before they ultimately didn't make it back out. So now fast forward to 20 years later, and it's been going on for the better part of 20 years, is fire departments across the country have been doing these events where they find a set of bleachers or a set of stairs inside of a building, or big football stadiums, and do something to remember what them guys and girls went through that day. And being new to the fire service, and I'm kind of eager to learn, and I've always had a strong respect for what everybody did that day since I was a kid. So I found it's important to me to push the envelope and push the issue to make this happen every year. So It was a good, fun event, though. I tell you, I kind of, for lack of better words, crapped the bed in planning it, with having a child this year. And I got really wrapped up in that, as we've all talked about numerous times. Things got put on the back burner while I was enthralled in her, which is what I should do. But it came down to the wire where I had to message you and say, hey, I need a contact information for somebody at the school so I could get in contact with them. So once we started talking, it went pretty quick, and we got everything planned out with about a month to spare. And I honestly envisioned that it was going to just be some guys from our fire department, maybe a guy or two from another station or something like that, or a friend or something. But it ended up being there was 18 firefighters, 2 cops, a Marine, some paramedics, and 3 different fire departments, 2 police stations, and like I said, a Marine. We all kind of just got together and really got after it, and it was a good time.
It's awesome.
It was hard. Let me tell you. So last year we did it at one of our sister station has a set of steps on the back of their building. We used that, and the steps were normal size steps. And it was hard last year, but it wasn't nearly as hard as it was this year. It was the bleachers, the steps in the bleachers are really long, deep steps. So it was a long gate as
Oh
every
yeah.
step was, it was tough. Um, I definitely underestimated it for sure.
Yeah, it's almost abnormal in a sense of the way you're walking, just because those bleachers. I mean, most people, a lot of people, when they go up them or down them, they take two steps, like right foot up, left
Yeah.
foot up, right foot up, left foot up, or just likewise on the way down. It's a really big step, or changes your gait, like you said.
Yeah, I agree. And I thought about doing that, but I was like, we're already doing 2,200 steps. If I take two steps per step, that's 4,400 steps. That's a lot.
Mhm.
So I just didn't do that. I think looking back, I may have tried to do that to see if that would work. But I don't know. It was a good time though, I tell you. It was it's like ironic to think, because I stopped and took breaks. I took my pack off for a while, even took my coat off for a little bit. And I was thinking about it like, man, them guys didn't get to do that. They didn't get to take a break. Some of them walked a few miles to the World Trade Centers before they went up.
Yeah.
Like it's unbelievable the dedication to serving their community that those firefighters had, and the police officers, paramedics, all of them alike. And so getting the opportunity to do an event like this, and my goal and my hope is to grow our particular event to a very large scale, to where it's all day and there's waves of people coming in and out all day long doing this to remember, so it never dies.
That was going to be my next question. As I was gonna mention, well, knowing you, the ideal goal is to probably grow this as big as it can go, and that would include obviously more service people, but then ultimately, I would think more community members too.
Yes, so that's what I'm looking for next year. Is I would like to have, it would be cool, I think, to have an equal part of firefighters and paramedics and police officers as there is just regular civilians coming out to partake. And like when we had our pre-event talk where we got everybody together before we got started, and I said it doesn't matter if you take one step or you take every last step. It doesn't matter. If you go out, come out here on a Sunday, a day of your day off, so to speak, and put in some work to remember what those guys and girls went through that day. That's all that really matters. It doesn't matter the amount of steps that every single person took. It's a matter that they took the steps, in my opinion. So I encourage everybody to find one of these events next year and get after it, because it's so fun. And it's fun, even if you're not a fitness person, it's so fun to get together with people and endure something that's hard together for a good cause.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that if you look hard enough, there's opportunities that present themselves all over the place for things like that. Not just
Yes.
difficult things where you can work with other people, but in an ideal situation, charitable events or memorial events that are meant to be something bigger than the event itself. That stuff is
Right.
all over the place, and there's several opportunities to do that. One thing that I know that it comes to mind is for breast cancer awareness. Uh, the school that I teach at and a local rival school do a pink game where they raise money for someone in particular in the community that's suffering from breast cancer or has been affected by breast cancer. And they sell T-shirts, and both teams wear pink, and it's a really big event. And I think that it's cool because those opportunities are rampant, and it's unfortunate, but I think that the way that social media is, particularly at least in a small town, that's kind of one of your main sources of news. I mean, a
Yes.
lot of people obviously subscribe to paper, but it's a little bit outdated and not as readily updatable as the internet is, because when you have a newspaper, you get it once a day, whereas social media updates by the second. So social media is a
Right.
big platform for people in small communities to kind of get their news from. And it's unfortunate, but sensationalistically, like, we're kind of geared towards bad news and drama more so than good news. And I think that a lot of these events are posted on social media if you look closely, and I think that it's kind of our responsibility to promote them too.
I agree, 100%. I agree with that. You know, if you see somebody doing something that's a good cause, even if it's even like if we're talking about social media, just as simple as sharing it. Even if you're not going to do it, share it so somebody else could see it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's very important is just because you're not doing it or you're not interested doesn't mean other people wouldn't be.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point to make because usually, I mean, I just think about myself. I would probably be much more willing or much more apt to share things that I would partake in, but think that maybe I need to do a better job of sharing things that I see, even if my schedule doesn't allow me to do it.
Right.
Because I think
So
that
how
that's how
is
you can make social media just an overwhelmingly much more positive place by doing that.
yeah, like I don't typically get invested or involved in the share this, read this if you read it right, share it thing, or share a picture so I can I can like it or whatever. Those like share chain things. I don't typically get involved in those, but when I do, it's because it's for a good cause,
Yeah.
or it's one of those ones that's like flood Facebook with happy pictures. I'm always on that. Like if somebody shares it, it comes across my timeline, I'm sharing something because I think we need more of that. We need more excitement and happy in this country and in this world, really, than we do have. Like, because there's so much drama anymore, and there's so much hardship and people bickering back and forth that if we could take a second to try to source out something happy or something good, we would be better off for sure.
And it's ironic because you put out good things, and I'm guilty of talking about people in this nature too, but it's ironic in the sense that you're trying to create a more positive environment by posting good things, but
Yeah,
it's unfortunately sometimes indirectly you cause a more negative environment because people will say that that's fake and that's not real, and oh, that person just tries to act all positive, and it's like, well, naturally you're going to try to act positive because I think that positive thoughts and positive actions come before positive mindset. I feel like
exactly.
you have to like force yourself through action and through words and through positive self-talk and surrounding yourself with influentially positive people before your mindset eventually gives in and then turns to positivity habitually. Like you're not going to be a habitually positive person if you don't make a conceited effort to try to do that. At least with me, I feel like human
No,
nature
I think you're
sometimes
right.
can be geared towards negativity in a lot of instances.
I think you're right. It's actions. Sometimes your actions will overpower your thoughts.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
you could
Yes.
backslide on any journey or anything. Like I want to be happy today, but then somebody pulls out in front of you and you freak out on them. You're not on them, but in your car, you cussing at them, you're hitting your steering wheel, you drive fast past them. But that sets the tone for the rest of your day. I do it too. Like it's crazy. We talk about it a lot, but then you get wrapped up in something and then you stew on it, and it's like let it go. Really, let it go
Yeah.
because it's not worth it.
Well, I feel like that type of behavior or that type of inclination to be like obsessive of things, right? Like you
Yeah,
to use the reference that you used, someone pulls out of you while you're driving and you get road rage. We have this innate I don't want to say ability. You could honestly you could look at it as like a disability where we feel like we have to like fixate on that. So you would have to
yeah,
think that would be able um, to parallel itself across different waves. So, like, if we have that fixation on negative things, we should have the capability mentally and emotionally to fixate on positive things. If I can spend all this time fixated on negative events that are small, I should, in theory, be able to fixate on positive events that are small and turn them into bigger and better things. If someone cuts me off and I have this little event that allows me to have a negative mindset for the entire day, maybe if I do something nice for someone at the beginning of my day, it'll allow me to remain positive the rest of the time.
yes,
You would
I
just think that
agree.
it would have to work both ways, right? Human nature is human nature, or your inclinations, whether they're good or bad, are going to probably be consistent. So why do we always, I guess that's the rhetorical question is why do we why do we always have such an easy time fixated on negative things, but we can't fixate on positive things?
I don't know. If
It's
I
it,
knew that answer, I would be perfect at that.
it's just something that crossed my mind because
Yeah.
like you feel that way, at least I do, with everything, no matter what we do. Like if we have it just let's just coin a very broad term. Let's say we have bad habits, like I oversleep, or I eat junk food, or if you have bad habits that you do constantly, you obviously can become a person of repetitive nature or of
Yes.
monotony. So you do the same thing. Like if you go to McDonald's every day and you continue to do it, you can probably have the ability to eat healthy foods every day repetitively, because obviously you don't have an issue with the monotony of what you eat. So why don't you change the bad and put it into good?
Exactly.
Just like the things that make our bad habits. So like you can kind of spin what your character traits are and how you talk about your character traits based on them being positive or negative. For example, you could say someone's extremely, extremely dedicated and driven, or you could say somebody's addicted. Usually,
Right.
addiction is a bad thing and dedicated is a good thing. So, if you have the ability to get addicted to things that are like, I don't know, just the cliche one that comes to mind is like gambling. You know, I know that sports betting is kind of taking an upswing, and I kind of enjoy that stuff to a degree. But let's say you have an addiction to gambling, you could take that mindset of I'm going to win, I'm going to get better, I'm going to right the wrongs, I'm going to fix this, I'm going to work my way out of this, and think about how successful you could be if you directed that type of energy and that type of personality and those characteristics that you have in yourself. How awesome would that be if you directed that towards something positive? All right. So hopefully this isn't too abrupt of an ending on the train of thought that Justin and I had. But Justin, we ran into some technical difficulties because we're recording over Zoom right now. And you went choppy on my end, I went choppy on your end, and lo and behold, here we are.
Yep.
Which we're right about the time for a commercial break, regardless. So maybe it was kind of divine intervention to let us know that it was time for a break. So, Justin, you posed a question very, very briefly right before we started to me. And I thought that it was an interesting balance that we wanted to talk about. So let's go to a commercial break, Justin, and then we'll talk about more about your question when we come back. As listeners of the Chasing Dreams podcast, we know that you demand the highest quality at all times. If you're interested in quality, look no further than Beast Mode Baking. Beast Mode Baking aims to bring the highest quality, creative, and of course delicious baked goods to your home with nationwide shipping. All orders need to be pre-ordered to ensure they're packed fresh and shipped out to you as soon as possible. Beast Mode Baking offers a flat rate of $15 for shipping due to the size and weight of the cookies and doughs. So if you're interested in Beast Mode Baking, please contact CEO Shannon Knorr. That's at SKNORR13 on Instagram and order your delicious baked goods today, because every time you support them, you're supporting the podcast as well. And we are back from our commercial break. So prior to the break, I mentioned that Justin had posed a question about balancing certain things to me right before we started recording. So I'd like to kind of visit that and talk about it openly with you, Justin. So what exactly for our listeners was that question that you wanted to know?
So, what is like? How do you find the balance between social life and extracurricular activities, and or like hobbies?
Mm-hmm. I think that is in essence, that's really a type of question that has been asked of successful people forever, is how do you find balance between multiple things, right? Like between your family and your work and your social life and your recreational hobbies or whatever. And I think that it's very, very difficult to find balance between all of those things.
It's very
Obviously,
hard.
I mean, if it was, and I don't really know if you can put a percentage on it, like allocate X amount of time to this. There's not really objectifiable ways of going about it. The one thing that I find interesting in regards to that question is how I've talked to several successful people who have been on complete opposite ends. I've talked to very successful people who said you absolutely need to have balance. And I've talked to other successful people who said you can't have balance.
Really?
Yeah, it's interesting because some of them say that, and you can understand both sides. Like necessary balance is necessary for enjoyment in life, and what's the point of being successful if you're not enjoying it?
Exactly. So that was my view on it whenever when I first heard it. I can't even remember where I heard it, but I was like, man, that would be a good topic to talk about. But my first thought on it was a little different, I think. But I kind of want to hear what you have to say first.
So for me, and I might be a bad person to ask this question of, primarily because I feel like my social desires, or the social part of my soul that needs fulfilled, because I think that even if you're someone that's an introvert, we all, I believe we all to some degree need some sort of social interaction for fulfillment purposes. Like
Yes.
the human body and the human spirit and the human mind and this human soul aren't going to develop if you're by yourself locked in a basement all day. Like
Right.
communication and thriving amongst others in their successes and your successes is kind of the foundation of humanity, which is the driving force of all life. So I feel like we all need social interaction to a degree. So for me, again, I'm probably not the best person to ask because I'm one of those people who I feel like my social needs are met through work. So I'm a teacher. I'm
Yeah.
constantly in dialogue and communicating with people all day. That's all I do is talk and then listen and then talk and then listen with my students, with my colleagues and coworkers and other teachers, and then change gears. After that, I immediately go into training mode. Well, before school starts and after school starts, I train people. So when I'm working with my athletes, it's the same thing. It's interaction, it's dialogue, it's motivation, it's discussions. And I feel like that's one of the things personally that I feel makes me, I don't know what the word I want to use is. I don't want to say a better trainer because there's different levels to being better than someone else. Or one of the strengths that I have as a trainer, I'll put it that way, is I feel like I have a really good relationship with the people that I train, or at least I try to establish that early on, is being more than just someone who trains them in the gym and then sends them on their way. So, because
Right.
of my deep rooted relationships that I have with my athletes, I feel like I get all of my social needs through them. Now, that's not to say that I don't have friends like you, for example, who I hang out with and do things with, but I feel like my need for companionship and friendship outside of the workforce isn't as strong as somebody else's who spends all day sitting at a cubicle. Like, if you're in an office or a desk job and you're sitting on a chair all day crunching numbers on a computer, your need for social interaction is going to be probably a lot higher than mine is because I get to have communication all day.
Right.
So I just feel like I might be the wrong person to ask about that, because the one way I could tell you is I really don't have much of a social life. I mean, I do, but it's definitely not what I would consider in balance. I feel
Well,
like my recreational, and then you could say the same thing for my recreational hobbies. My hobbies include self-improvement, and physical fitness, and I get those in the workforce too.
right. So, in my opinion, like you found a way, you found a cheat code, so to speak.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
And that's kind of what my answer was similar. Was like, social to me, like, so or social life to me is like friends, and like in making friends and hanging out with people, or conversing with somebody outside of your little circle.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't know, I guess the way I was looking at it was like, you have your family unit, like your small circle that you talk to and you interact with every day. I try to keep my circle really small, and it doesn't just include family members, but like my tight knit circle or people that I hang out with. I
Uh-huh.
do all my extracurricular activities with those people. I work out with them. We meal prep together. We do holidays and vacations. And if we're gonna go and do something, that is extracurricular, I'm going to do it with those people. So like my social life and my extracurricular hobbies and activities kind of go together. Now, that's not to say that my mother goes to the gym with me. Like she doesn't go down and work out with me, but like so like because my extracurricular activities are things that are not so like because extracurricular to me is something that you don't have to do,
Hmm.
right? But it's something you enjoy doing. I don't have anything that I don't that is needed so much that it would be something that I do on a regular basis that I don't have to do, like because it's a non-negotiable or a thing. You know what I mean? Like I like to deer hunt and I like to go fishing, but I don't do that very often. So I guess those would be my extracurricular activities that I am failing to balance at all.
Yeah.
Now that I'm thinking about it out loud. So I don't know. Like, how do you, if you have, like, if you were to think about something that you enjoy doing that you just don't do because you don't have the time, you don't feel a loss for not doing it, but you know you like to do it, like, because you used to do it all the time, or, this, that, the other thing.
Well, I think
Is
that part
there,
of it could be like, I think that that's just more a testament to something that we've talked about several times before, is the importance of choosing your inner circle and your friends group wisely. So if I
right,
have a friends group that their hobbies are different than mine, it's not that you want to kind of try to find kids that are, or adults or friends that are clones of you. But if I have people who hobbies and interests are different than mine, then my social life and what I do with them is going to be different from what I do on my free time. Versus if I can
right,
find like-minded individuals, which is something that I'm sure, whether we're conscientious of it or it's subconscious, we're all trying to find people that are like-minded that we can hang out with, so we can kind of kill two birds with one stone.
right, exactly.
So I think that's
It's
important, is choosing your friends wisely. So those people, you can kind of check off the social queue and the hobby queue at the same time.
right. And that's the thing is like, if you can find a way that, and it's almost like manipulation, because if you have somebody who's super important, but they aren't on the same track as you try to convince them to try to do the things that you do because you want to bring all that together, like bring your social life and your hobbies into one path, onto the same roadmap, so to speak.
Yeah, I think that everybody tries to do that. That
Yeah,
makes life simple. Is if you can, what would be an ideal scenario is if you could get to the point where you consolidate everything. So
right,
I'm envious of these people that have a family who does the exact same hobbies. Like, let's say going to the gym, where you have a mom, a dad, and kids, and they all go to the gym together. Or
right.
they all enjoy the outdoors, so they go hiking, fishing, and hunting together, because then you get your social interaction, you get your family time, you get your hobbies, and you kind of align things so that you're checking off so many boxes all at once.
Yeah, you get your cake and eat it too.
For sure.
Yeah, that's something that I'm striving for, and that's why, like, while raising a new child, is I want to break the cycle and make the gym not something that people hate, not something that she doesn't want, because I would love to see the day where my dad's going to go downstairs and work out, and she's like, so am I.
Hmm.
Not because she wants, not because that's the only time she gets to hang out with me, because that's like truly what she wants to do.
Yeah.
And that would be the best balance to me, would be everybody doing the same thing willingly, because that's what they want, not because that's what they feel like they have to do to fit into somebody else's schedule.
When I think that there's certainly probably um, a, a little bit of a deeper metaphor that the gym can kind of represent with that, is I think that the gym is a representation of all these things we want to achieve in life. So when you go to the gym, I don't think everybody has their particular goals. Like, I want to get into fitness because I want to get healthier, or I want to look better. I want to get bigger and add more muscle, or I want to burn fat and get leaner, or I just want to get stronger, or I want to have better endurance. Whatever your particular end goal is, I don't think that there's anybody or very many, if anybody out there that doesn't want all of it though. Like
Right.
in an ideal world, going to the gym, you would be big, ripped, healthy, strong, athletic, fast, have great endurance, great health, all that stuff, right? So
Yeah.
we, you and I say we as a an overreaching pronoun for most gym people, are trying to find a way to do all of that in the most efficient way possible. Is there a way to structure my workout where I can add some strength, add some size, burn some fat, get some performance markers, and get healthier all at once? So you're
Right.
constantly kind of manipulating some variables in your training and what you do to try to get everything. And I think that it's the same way with your goals outside of the gym. Like, how can I blend my family time, my social life, my hobby time? How can I kind of manipulate the variables, so to speak, so I'm being really, really efficient with those sort of things?
Right. Yeah. And it's an ever changing, like the solution to it is ever changing because there's always everything evolves. So
Mhm.
like as you find how to get everybody involved in the gym, then you find another hobby that you add, or somebody else finds another hobby that they had, and now everybody's being tried to, like, you're always trying to, I don't know what I'm trying to say. You're always trying to keep each other up with what you're doing. So like that, I think that's what that goes back to being very important to pick your circle smart. Like make smart choices whenever you're making friends. And I guess that's, you know, weird, but it's necessary. Like pick your friends wisely. I guess
Well,
that's something I use. My parents used to tell me is pick your friends wisely. Don't just pick them because it's the first person that you meet.
yeah, it's one of those things where the way that I have thought about it in the past is my coach Austin once said he made a post on Instagram one time and he said something along the lines of think about what you want most and remove everything that isn't that or that isn't helping you get there. And so I think that I've kind of simplified my life and weaned down your friend group a little bit or whittled it down to a degree just by taking systematically allowing people to exit my life and enter my life that are, allowing the ones to come in that are helping and the ones to leave that aren't helping. So like if you're not helping me get better, and
Right.
that may be a selfish mindset to take, but it's one that you have to take. If you're not bringing value or adding to the quality of my life, then why would I waste time trying to hang out with you?
Exactly. And it does feel bad. It feels rough to be that, to do that. But if you think about it, everybody does that. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So it shouldn't feel bad. It should just feel natural to want to be with the best people for you. So, we do that. I mean, it's not, so it's okay for us to do that in the dating world, but not in our social world.
And some people,
You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like,
yeah, it is very weird. I've never really
so,
thought
but
about it
yeah,
like
I
that, but
agree.
you're right. I
Neither
think
did
that
I
just
until just
sometimes,
now.
I think sometimes people just, and it's okay, but sometimes people just aren't ready to be part of your life or they're not ready to be your friend.
Right.
And that's okay. It's okay if someone's not quite where you are and they're not ready to grow with you or to develop as you are. That's okay. It's okay to allow those people to exit.
Yeah.
Some
Okay.
people may take it harshly, and if if someone does take that very, very harsh and gets angry about that, that just kind of solidifies your point even further.
Right.
Whereas if you have a person who you're kind of exiting out of your life, so to speak, they need to potentially take a look and say, wow, Justin's making a lot of progress. He's trying to level himself up. And I obviously haven't done much to offer value to him or to help that. Where's my life going? Am I going in a positive direction or a negative direction? And kind of go from there.
I
So
agree.
maybe having these conversations with people will allow for a little bit of a moment of self-assessment on their end. Because I've had
And
that
then
happen
if
to
they,
me.
and if you have these conversations regular with people, like just not really like this exact conversation, but like how you perceive value being built in your life, stuff like that. Like have those kinds of conversations with people all the time. When they notice that they haven't talked to you in 3 weeks, they'll have no choice but to kind of understand.
Hmm.
Like, oh, well, crap. And then if you're important enough to them, then they'll make some evaluations and see the error in their ways, so to speak. And I don't mean that just because we're different, that means you have an error. But if it's so important that we're in the same circle, one of us is going to have to bend. And it just depends on who has found their path the most. If the
Yeah,
other
I
one
keep
bends or
going
not.
back and thinking as you're talking, I continue to think about the dating analogy. It's funny that we can do that and say, with someone, say, hey, I don't
This
think
just
that,
ain't working.
yeah, we're not a good couple because we're on different paths, or we're in a different place right now, or we just don't gel. I it's shame that you can't do that socially as well and just say, hey, we're not really on the same path right now or whatever. And I think that when
Right.
you do that, it's hard for people to do that for two reasons. Number one is they don't want to make anybody upset and hurt feelings naturally. But then I also think that part of it's too, um, do you feel like you could possibly come across as too self-righteous or too conceited when you do that? Like almost as though you're putting yourself above that person to be friends with them, which isn't the case because,
No.
like you said, different isn't bad. Different's different.
Right. Difference just different. Like you have to put yourself first. Like in every situation, if you don't put yourself first, you're never going to be able to put somebody else first. Like I know that sounds weird, but like if I don't focus on me when it comes time to doing something for somebody else, I'm not prepared to do that because I haven't focused some energy and time in myself.
Well, I feel the exact same way. I feel like I can speak to this very, very closely because it's something that I've went through before. Is until I started helping myself and putting myself first, I wasn't able to help as many people as I was. So like
Right.
now that I put myself as my primary concern is my development. And that doesn't mean what I want to do when I want to do it. It means doing what is best for me when sometimes I don't want to do it. Like maybe my professional development, I have to put first because it allows me to help more people. So
Yeah. Like,
regardless, I've
like
noticed
as
that.
a,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, like as a coach, your number one client should be Charlie
Yeah,
because if Charlie's not getting better, then nobody's getting better. Because if coach ain't happy, if dad's not happy, the kids ain't happy.
correct.
So, like, and if everybody looked at things that way, you would naturally come to the people that are meant to be with you, like in your life or in your circle. Like, if everybody focused on themselves first, and I don't mean, we've talked about it, like it's not like you're hyper like selfish, but you have to put some priority on yourself. So whenever it's time to put priority on other people, you have the ability to.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, sorry, I interrupted you there.
No, I think that that's actually a really good place to wrap it up. I think that maybe something that I'm going to take away from this episode and try to do this week is look and see it who's bringing value and who's not bringing value, and kind of maybe I need to spend a little bit more time communicating with the people that do bring value,
Right. I
because I'm
agree.
sure that we can go through and itemize our day and our life and look at them and pretty objectifiably determine who's bringing value to our life, who's kind of indifferent, neither detracting or adding, and then the people that are taking away value from our life. And I think that if you go through and you kind of systematically lay it out and say, this is what I need to do to be with this person more or be with this person less, I think that you'll find that you're probably going to be in a better place after doing that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
All right, man, that pretty much wraps it up. So, with that, we have come to the end of another episode of the Chasing Dreams podcast with Charlie and Justin. This has been episode 96. We appreciate all of you, and you guys bring value to our life. So, we'll be sure not to cut you out of our lives. And we look forward to hearing back from you next week.
Unbreakable, unstoppable, I push to the edge and take it all. I'm